have Daivd Ashby with me today. He's the Director of Learning, Innovation, and Technology here at BYU-Idaho and our devotional speaker. Brother Ashby, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well, thanks.
Good. Thanks for coming in today for us.
Anytime.
So, obviously, as our devotional speaker today, give us just, for listeners and those that maybe aren't familiar with you, give us a little bit of background on yourself, especially your connection with BYU-Idaho, because you have more of a history than just being a teacher here.
Yeah. I came up to BYU-Idaho, actually to Ricks College in 1997. I was actually on the original Spirit team. I was a cheerleader for Ricks College in the Ricks College athletic days, and tried to leave. And then when they made it BYU-Idaho, I just decided to stay. So I ended up getting a degree in Spanish education, and then went to Salmon, Idaho for a while, in Dallas, Texas for a couple of years, North Carolina, just kind of chasing different jobs and degrees. But I was a Spanish teacher for a while, and then I became kind of like this educational technologist, and that's kind of been my shtick for a while. And I came back to BYU-Idaho in 2013 to train online faculty and pathway faculty.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
So being a student back then, and now being a faculty for this amount of time, how, I guess, how has it been different for you? And then kind of what big differences have you seen in campus too?
Oh, it's been, I don't know. It's because I was gone for so long. I was gone for almost 10 years and then came back. I didn't really notice the difference. I wasn't expecting it to be the same, but it's been so much fun to be back at my alma mater, right? Like just a blast to be a part of BYU-Idaho and see it progress over the last 25 years, I guess, right? I've just really enjoyed being a part of the mission and seeing the growth, especially in the online space. That was a lot of fun to watch. But now today, I'm doing a lot with online, and online, I think, is between online and still pathway stuff and online classes and AI. AI is really just accelerating this work faster than I ever thought possible.
Yeah, it's incredible. In your devotional today, I guess my big takeaway from it, a big part of it was, just the fact that adventure and growth has kind of been taken away in a lot of ways, just in how the world is nowadays, and that it's still important for us to search for those opportunities, even when, it might be difficult or uncomfortable, I guess. Would you say that that's an accurate takeaway?
Yeah, for sure.
Oh, awesome. So I wanted to ask you too, what inspired you to have this as your central focus for your devotional address today?
Oh, I've read lots of books over the last several years between grit and growth mindset and the anxious generation. I'm just seeing a lot of problems with my own children as well as students that work for us at BYU-Idaho, that I just don't feel like the sense of adventure is out there. They're just sheltered, maybe even way too much, way more than they should be. And this last year, I read this book called The Comfort Crisis that really just sent me over the edge. I was like, oh man, I am too comfortable. And so I just wanted, everyone that knows me knows I just love to go out and do stuff and be constantly active and finding new ways to challenge myself. And so I just thought it would be, if there's one thing I could share with everybody, it would be just go out and find ways to be uncomfortable. And you'd be amazed at how many opportunities it throws your way. New people in your life, new opportunities, doors and windows that have been opened that I never thought were even there. So I just think, beware of our comfort. Whenever I read the scriptures, I rarely see Heavenly Father taking obstacles out of people's way. It's more like He makes us stronger to help us overcome them. That seems to be the predominant case in most of the biblical stories and Book of Mormon stories.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that. And there were a lot of really good quotes that I liked from your devotional. But just as, I guess, maybe a more general topic, because you talk also about how, I guess, part of it is, being tech heavy, tech reliant, and it's really easy to just stay indoors and, be on a screen, that kind of thing, right? So I guess if you had advice to students going along with your devotional, how can we kind of combat this and experience greater growth and adventure even when our world is so reliant sometimes on technology?
I guess my suggestion would be you can get by with less social media than you think. Actually, I don't think social media is required to help us be productive or integrated and involved in society even a little bit. And so I know a lot of people that do it, and it's amazing how much, whenever I delete all those apps off my phone and I just try to like limit my screen time and even set goals to get outside, that it changes my my mental attitude, my fortitude even, and my ability to see other people around me. I think so many times that it's just this limiting thing that just gets us like really wrapped up in ourselves in this really weird way. So my suggestion would be set goals. Just find little ways to either delete apps off your phone or set goals with friends to go out and get places and do things. I've got lots of friends that our goal is to, hike a certain number of miles a week, or go out and climb a certain number of feet a week. And we go and we set regular appointments with each other, and we kind of hold each other accountable so that we're always at the gym or training or doing something. And so I use physical stuff as kind of this proxy for other things, but it's just a lot about goals and accountability to the people that that surround you. It could even just be about routine. Sometimes it's not even about decisions. It's just take the decisions away and make it no decision. You're just not going to do those things, and you are going to do these other things by making it a daily routine.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. Speaking of Jesus Christ, you said he left the comforts of heaven for the uncertainty of earth, a place where he was not guaranteed acceptance or even recognition. And just about him coming to the earth with his mortal mission and everything. So how can we take comfort in him and his situation, especially because obviously, anything that we face has already been overcome by him. What would you say for how we can overcome those kind of things when we face our own difficult situations?
Isn't it beautiful to know that he already has overcome everything? And when him doing so gives him this power to help us through just about everything. Whenever I've had any kind of big fear or challenge that's gotten in my way, like just knowing that he has done it and that he knows like nobody else on this earth how I feel in that particular moment. He can take those feelings away and help me be stronger. And I can't explain it in any probably with words that are sufficient for what it deserves. But the atonement is real, and it can allow us to produce or perform things that were well beyond our ability, or at least we thought were beyond our ability, because he has that power. So I'm just very, very thankful that we have those examples, and it's just spoken about throughout the stories of the scriptures, and allows us to see that it really did happen.
Yeah. Thank you for that. You also talked about, is it your friend or your wife's friend or both of you, Mo?
Yeah.
Is that her name? Is that how you say it? Okay.
Yep,
I assume so. I just wanted to get it right.
Yep.
But it was really cool that you were just, you mentioned her and just, the goals that she sets for herself as well. And I liked when you said that Mo reminds me that the bravest people I know love people more than they love their personal records. Because I think, especially just with how, busy a lot of people get nowadays, and just, I think kind of how you mentioned earlier with how social media helps us, or I guess makes us, wrapped up in ourselves in a weird way, right? And we just become so self-centered. Kind of following along maybe with Mo's example, what would you say for how we can, make those sacrifices to, I guess, be more aware of others too? Because I guess President Monson also talks about it, where he says that, I don't know if I can quote it exactly, but where he says that, like, a person to be loved is more important than a problem to be solved, right? So I guess, what would you say about just making those sacrifices, even when we are busy and stressful in our own ways?
Yeah, I think to a certain point we have to remind ourselves that that we are following the second great commandment there, right? Like, we're trying to love our neighbor as ourselves, which actually is 2 commandments, right? We need to be loving ourselves and our neighbors. But I think you have to remind yourself that, like, what your priorities are. There's been times where I've been guilty of not doing what Mo says. And I'm like, man, I was supposed to run 15 miles a day. And because I was running with so-and-so, I only got 8, or maybe I was really trying to, accomplish this one thing. And because I noticed this person over here needed help, I stopped. And am I upset about that? Or do I recognize that that was still part of, maybe that was the more important calling of the day. Right. And so it really just does come down to priorities. And so I have to ask myself a lot of the time about like, who am I and what am I really prioritizing in those particular moments? I try to come up with these vision statements or these value statements that help me align what those priorities are. And if I continue to remind myself that people, friends, family are up higher on the list than maybe whatever that goal might have been, then it's easy to see, okay, I made the right choice that day. Maybe I didn't get this other goal done, but maybe that goal didn't matter. You know what I mean? This challenge or whatever it was.
Yeah. I guess maybe that has a lot to do with just us, constantly making sure that we can have the Spirit with us, right? Because a lot of the times our plans do get altered, right? I mean, I've seen it in my own life. I'm sure you've seen it in yours, especially with the experiences you shared too. So, I guess, would you say that that's part of it, is just keeping that influence in your life?
Yeah. I'll say maybe this is a little bit of a tangent, but yesterday in church we got to sacrament meeting and there were no sacrament cups. And the young men had probably forgotten to tell somebody that they opened the last box, like it's just this, he said, she said, and we had no cups. And I got home, I'm having to go to another chapel to go see if I can pilfer some sacrament cups from different chapels. Yeah. And I was mad. I was really upset for a minute. I was like, why are these young men so irresponsible? But, the sacrament talk we actually had to switch the order of the talks and made the sacrament talks first. And then because we took so long to get all the sacrament ready, we did sacrament last. But the talk was so powerful and it was about the sacrament. And there was something beautiful about how it actually did work out. Yeah. And, cause he talked about things before we actually partake of the sacrament. And you don't get to do that very often because we usually do it the other way around. Mm-hmm. And I reminded myself again, okay, I failed. I probably need another lesson there, that I put this goal of getting, this responsibility of having sacrament ready for the ward in front of the young men or whatever, and realized that Heavenly Father still had a plan. It was still his work. And I should just take a big deep breath sometimes when I get a little flustered and just allow his work to go forward.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah,
that's great. And just to end, you also shared a quote from President Eyring in his address to BYU-I in 2009 when he said, "The climbs to the places God would have us go are never for us alone." And I guess, I don't know, I take a lot of comfort in that, just knowing that, a lot of the times when our plans change in our minds, when we're trying to trust in God, it can be hard, to take those steps of faith, kind of like how you mentioned as well in your devotional. Mm-hmm. I guess maybe what advice would you have for us just to, continue forward with that courage to be able to trust in God, even when we can't see, as far ahead as maybe we would like?
That's a good question. Are you familiar with that talk? Do you know the story behind that
President Eyring?
Yeah.
No, I don't actually.
He was actually climbing the Middle Teton.
Oh, interesting.
And I think he was with his son or something, and his son was just not going to make it that day, or Middle or South Teton. And so he had to make a choice to either go and finish the hike and climb and leave his son back there, or stay with his son and just enjoy the day. And so that's when he made the choice to stay with his son. And so there are times that you do have to make those sacrifices. And I think in all those cases, you really have to go back to ask yourself who you are and what's the most important priority. And it's so easy to get wrapped up and say, oh, well, I'm training for this particular thing, or I have this particular goal. But that goal might only be for like the next week or the next year. Like, what's your goal for eternity? Like, having that big picture can seem to help you get those priorities put straight, and hopefully when your plans have to change, allow you to accept them and move forward, right? So I would say the hard part is recognize that the ultimate goal is really eternal life. And if you can come up with some value statements, some key words, something that help remind you what your priorities are eternally, and not necessarily what they are for this particular run or this particular assignment or this particular, a calling at church. It's so easy to get wrapped up in like the very short term, but if we realize we're actually there for a much bigger purpose, it's not necessarily to get the sacrament put on the table that particular day. Mm-hmm. It's everybody's well-being and edification. I think there's ways there that if you keep those big pictures in mind, you'll stay on the right track.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for sharing that. Thank you so much for joining us today and for your devotional address.
Thank you.